Kael proposed the solution on the morning of November 21st, before the first construct test succeeded and after the third had failed. The secondary room smelled of inscribed silver and the faint ozone of failed matrices cooling. Dawn had not finished climbing the eastern wall when he laid the pages on the main table in an order that was not chronological but structural. July's Void Echo Resolution Sketch from the Northern Command Post, October's Architecture Notes, November's Daily Cycle Chart from the mooring meetings, and a blank sheet with a single header he had written at the 4th hour past midnight. Extraction, order layer only. Record. Hold. Erase boundary. Release. Seraphine read the header first. Gareth read it second. Neither spoke until they had read all 4 pages. The command post's outer yard carried the sound of Calder's honor guard changing shift, boots on gravel, low voices, the ordinary discipline of men who did not know what was being decided at this table. Gareth broke the silence first, not with approval, with the question Gareth always asked when Kael proposed something that sounded like courage-wearing mathematics. He said, "What does Damien want?" Kael said, "To stop burning schoolhouses while believing he's righteous." Seraphine said, "That's not an operational answer." Kael said, "It's the operational answer. The rest is mechanism." She looked at the cycle chart, morning low, afternoon rise, dusk peak, and tapped the morning band once. Ink smudged slightly under her nail. She did not wipe it. She said, "Then the mechanism has a schedule." He said, "Yes." The proposal was simple in statement and enormous in implication. Sever the order's control mechanism, the anchor's second layer, the dark encoded steering overlay, through the void echo. Not kill Damien. Not wait for the church's tightening team to erase the morning voice and reinforce the afternoon weapon. Remove the order's addition surgically, leave the church's light foundation intact if the boundary held, return Damien to whatever he was before someone else started deciding who he protected. Void Echo had been built to record spells witnessed and replay them at reduced fidelity, 8 types in rotation, spatial structure captured, dark affinity filling the container, space magic maintaining the boundary. Kael had used it to fold corridors, to conceal flight, to collapse assault command geometry. In July it had shown him architecture. In October it had confirmed 2 layers. In November it had measured a cycle that turned a person into a schedule. The proposal extended the same principle to living architecture. Record the order layer structure into the echo storage, not a spell but a mechanism, a graft sitting against Damien's core. Hold the recording while Dark Magic's erasure component cut along the boundary line. Pull the recording back out like withdrawing a thread from cloth without tearing the weave beneath it. He had never tried it on a living person. He had never tried it on a saint-equivalent power structure. He said that aloud, because omission would have been its own kind of lie. Seraphine's composure did not move. Gareth set his cup down without drinking. Seraphine said, "You've tested it." He said, "On constructs. Failed twice yesterday. Third test this morning, partial hold on a simulated dual-layer matrix Aldous' notes describe. Not living tissue. Not gold aura interference at range. Not a core that convulses when frightened." Gareth said, "What's the failure mode?" Kael said, "If I miss the boundary, I take the church layer with the order layer. If I take both, I likely take his natural core. He dies or goes berserk without the steering structure to hold the amplification." Seraphine said, "And if you don't miss?" Kael said, "He keeps the blessing's amplification architecture without the order's keys. He manages the church foundation himself over time, or we learn the foundation is also corrosive at reduced capacity. Unknown." Gareth said, "Better than tightening." Kael said, "Better than killing him." Gareth looked at the cycle chart. Morning band. The only honest window. Gareth said, "Morning window." Kael said, "Operation in the low point. Not negotiable." He sent the proposal to Commander Bright through the encrypted thread before noon, not the full technical document, the operational request. Provisional authorization sought, anchor extraction procedure on Damien Cross, order control layer only, Silverlight witness, neutral ground eastward light, medical support, church tightening team denied access to subject for duration. Subject has agreed in principle pending explanation. Bright's answer arrived within 4 hours. Subject custody transferred to Silverlight Investigative Authority as of today. Tightening team stalled at Valdris staging, Seleni protest procedures, my signature, your frontier documentation. You have 14 days before doctrinal cover thins. Do not waste them. Send technical summary. I will not approve procedure without reading it. Kael sent the technical summary. He did not send the failure modes in the first packet. Bright was an ally, not a confessor. Seraphine watched him seal the dispatch tube. She said, 14 days. He said, 14 days. She said, and if the afternoon wins before the 14th test. He said, then we operate with what we have. She did not argue. The argument had been spent on November 20th. What remained was sequencing. Damien received the explanation on November 22nd at the mooring 4th meeting, morning low, Bright's observer outside. Seraphine at 400 meters on the western pier where neutral water met neutral stone and the wind carried salt without doctrine. Kael did not dress it in hero language. He said, the order placed a second structure against your church blessing. It holds the keys to incomplete channels in the blessing. When it activates, you feel conviction about targets you did not choose. I can try to remove the second structure and leave the first. Damien sat on the birth room's plain chair with his hands on his knees. Morning light through the east window fell across his collarbone. No armor. No church stole. Just a young man in a shirt open at the throat because Kael had asked for access and Damien had not refused. Damien said, try. Kael said, it may kill you. Damien said, staying like this may kill more people than me. The sentence was not steering syntax, too plain, too tired, morning voice without performance. Kael had heard that voice in Academy correspondence 4 years ago, before the church finished dressing it in certainty. Kael said, I need 2 weeks to build the method. Damien said, the afternoons are getting worse. Kael said, I know. Damien said, then build fast. The mooring creaked. Neutral water moved. Bright's observer made a note without looking up from the page. Seraphine, when he returned to the command post, did not ask whether Damien had agreed. She asked, does he understand partial success? He said, he understands death. He understands continuation. I didn't give him percentages. She said, you will. He said, when I have them. She said, and you'll hide some of them from me. He looked at her. She said, build the method anyway. I'll be outside the room when you use it. He filed the sentence in the same compartment as come back. Gareth moved a cot into the secondary room and declared it the research annex. Kael said, I'm not sleeping there. Gareth said, you're sleeping somewhere. That room has the constructs. Kael said, yes. Gareth said, then stop arguing with the cot. By afternoon, the annex held 3 construct matrices on the table, inert magical assembly sourced through Torrens correspondent from a Seleni academic supplier, labeled for aura theory instruction, expensive, legal. And nothing like a person except where they were exactly like a person in the ways that would kill someone if Kael guessed wrong. Silver wire traced dual-layer patterns. Dark encoded overlay sat against simulated light foundation, like a second skin sewn with different thread. Kael failed the first test before midnight. The simulated order layer tore. The simulated church layer frayed. The matrix collapsed into inert dust and a headache that sat behind his left eye for an hour. He logged. Boundary too aggressive. Reduce erasure depth 12. He began again. Torrens correspondent forwarded a commission medical annex packet on November 21st evening. Aura core graphed literature, 3 case studies, 2 failures noted in red. Kael read them between construct tests and underlined the same sentence in each failure. Boundary misidentified under live stress. Seraphine watched him underline. She said, that's why you test. He said, that's why I don't sleep. She said, both. She left food on the table. He ate half of it without tasting it. Halvar sent a 1-line northern update November 22nd. Perrin losing perimeter discipline. Contingent morale fracturing. If procedure fails, field violence may precede church tightening. Kael pinned the line beside Bright's 14-day authorization. Damien's agreement at the mooring that morning had been quiet, build fast, and the quiet had more weight than any oath. Gareth sat in the annex doorway that evening without speaking. Presence, not supervision. Kael logged the second failure, adjusted depth, and opened Aldous' space magic notes to the chapter on integrity boundaries. By nightfall, the third construct matrix sat on the table like a question made of glass and inscribed silver. The third test held partial structure for 11 seconds before collapse. 11 seconds was not 40 minutes. 11 seconds was proof the Echo could touch something larger than a spell matrix without immediate disintegration. Kael wrote the number in the log and stared at it. The solution was proposed. The clock was 14 days. The Void Echo had never held a living core's architecture before. Kael opened Aldous' notes again and began the fourth test before the headache fully faded. He failed the fourth test before the second hour past midnight. He logged the failure, adjusted depth, and began again. The solution was not a speech. It was work. November 24th, 10th test partial success held 53 seconds. Kael wrote the number and stared at it. 53 seconds was not 40 minutes. It was proof the Echo could hold a structure larger than a spell matrix without immediate collapse. Gareth read the log over his shoulder. Gareth said, "How many 53 seconds in 40 minutes?" Kael said, 46 if transition cost stays linear. Gareth said, "And if it doesn't?" Kael said, "Then we find out in the room." The NX had acquired the smell of repeated failure, ozone, dust, the metallic tang of silver wire heated past tolerance. Aldous' notes covered one wall in pinned sheets. The daily cycle chart covered another. Between them, Kael had built a vocabulary out of variables: boundary width, hold duration, erasure depth, interference from simulated gold aura fields, degradation when dark and space ran at mismatched output, recovery time between attempts. November 26th. Damien's message through bright, afternoon almost 1 today. One line. Kael pinned it above the construct table. Seraphine read it. She said, 14 days is compressing. He said, I know. She did not stay. She had learned that staying in the doorway invited argument, and argument cost hours the construct table could not spare. The research took 14 days because Bright allowed 14 days and because living cores did not forgive approximation. Kael stopped counting failures after the 7th construct test and started counting variables instead. 2 weeks in the secondary room. Construct matrices on the table, inert magical assemblies Torrens correspondent sourced from a Seleni academic supplier, labeled for aura theory instruction, expensive, legal, and nothing like a person except where they were exactly like a person in the ways that would kill someone if Kael guessed wrong. November 21st evening, Church Tightening Team reached Valdris staging at midday, as Bright had warned. Seraphine read the dispatch and said, they're early. Kael did not look up from the construct. They're at staging. Not at the mooring. Gareth said, Bright's custody transfer holds until doctrinal challenge resolves. That's days, not hours. Kael said, days are enough if the 7th test works. The 7th test failed at the erasure boundary. The simulated order layer tore. The simulated church layer frayed. The matrix collapsed into inert dust and a headache that sat behind his left eye for an hour. He logged, boundary too aggressive. Reduce erasure depth 12. He slept 1 hour before midnight because Seraphine had said no and meant it. November 23rd, 4th test held 19 seconds. 5th test failed at neural analog introduction, a crude filament simulation added after Vare's medical annex arrived. The matrix spasmed. Cascade warning in the log. Kael sat with that failure longer than the others. Neural integration was not in July's architecture sketch. It was not in October's notes. It was a risk category he had not named yet. He wrote, order layer may have grown into tissue adjacent to core channels. Anticipate partial nervous system integration. Research neural boundary, commission medical texts. Seraphine, passing the doorway, said, There's medical annex has aura core surgery records. I'll request copies through the investigation channel. He said, thank you. She said, don't thank me. Read them. November 25th, partial success on the 9th test. Record the overlay. Hold 14 seconds. Erase along mapped seam. Church layer simulated damage. 4. Acceptable if real damage stayed under 8 on a living core. Order layer removal. Complete in simulation. Gareth watched without speaking. Seraphine brought food at the 6th hour and left without comment when Kael did not stop working. She said at the door, "Sleep 1 hour before midnight." He said, "Negotiable." She said, "No." He slept 1 hour before midnight. November 27th, Damien's afternoon erratic reports worsened. Havar forwarded a field note from Perrin's deputy, purification operation near Greymore aborted when Damien refused target list, then accepted it 2 hours later without explanation. Morning refusal. Afternoon compliance. Kael pinned the report beside the cycle chart and drew a red line through the 14-day window. We are inside the margin. The 10th test that afternoon held 31 seconds. Not enough. Enough to continue. November 29th, 10th test, hold duration extended to 41 seconds in simulation. Not 40 minutes. Not living tissue. The gap between 41 seconds and 40 minutes was not linear. It was a cliff Kael could not see the bottom of until he stood on the edge. He worked Master Aldous' space magic notes on sustained integrity fields, the problem of maintaining a container while the contents were being edited. Aldous had written about spatial surgery on damaged relay anchors, not human cores, but the principle translated. The boundary was a room you built in real time around the part you were trying not to destroy. Dark Magic's erasure component wanted to spread. Space Magic's precision wanted to narrow. Void Echo between them wanted to remember what the target had been before the knife. The theoretical framework was sound. The practical application had never been tested on anything that could die looking at you while you worked. November 30th, Gareth began sitting in the research annex doorway for 1 hour each evening, not supervising, presence. He said, "Tell me when you're repeating a failure." Kael said, "I'm not repeating." Gareth said, "The 7th and the 9th looked the same from the door." Kael pulled the logs. Gareth was right about surface similarity, wrong about variable match. The correction saved half a day. December 1st, 11th test, simulated gold aura interference introduced. Void Echo precision degraded 9 at 1 meter, 17 at 3 meters. Damien would be closer than 1 meter. Hands on chest. No degradation room at operational distance. Kael logged, gold field interference irrelevant at contact range. Confirm at mooring. December 2nd, Southern Pool Courier, 154 days quiet. Kael read the report and felt nothing useful. The South's cleanliness did not shorten the North's surgery. Seraphine said, "You eat or I file a medical complaint through VAR." He said, "You wouldn't." She said, "Try me." He ate. The 12th test that night held 47 seconds with neural analog attached. Microtug registered. No cascade. He logged the tug and did not sleep. December 3rd, 13th test, dual-layer matrix with neural analog added, crude but instructive. Extraction pulled magical structure and tugged the analog's filament connections. Matrix spasmed. Cascade warning in the log. He sat with that failure longer than the others. He adjusted erasure depth for shallower. Ran the test again. Hold duration dropped to 38 seconds. Microtug remained. Cascade did not. Not victory. Data. December 5th, 14th day. 14th test, best result. Order layer removed in simulation. Church layer damage 6. Hold duration 53 seconds. Neural analog showed microtug, no cascade. Not enough. Enough to continue. Kael closed the log and wrote the research summary header. Theoretical framework sound. Practical application untested on living saint equivalent core. Proceed to anchor mapping sessions at mooring. Boundary math viable at contact range. Neural integration risk flagged unresolved. Gareth read the header over his shoulder. Gareth said, "You look like a man who won a battle that isn't over." Kael said, "I look like a man who ran out of constructs." Gareth said, "Same thing." Bright's December 5th message. Doctrinal cover remaining. 4 days. Church tightening team petitioning for subject access. I need your timeline. Kael answered. Mapping sessions December 6th to 7th. Decision December 8th. Operation December 9th if boundary confirms. He did not send the neural integration flag in the same message. He sent it in the technical annex an hour later because allies who entered rooms with armed readiness deserved not to be surprised. Bright replied. Armed readiness noted. Medical officer added. December 9th morning window. Subject agrees. The research phase closed. The anchor phase opened. Kael had 2 days to confirm what July had shown and what constructs could not. 14 days of failures had bought one vocabulary: record, hold, erase, release. He hoped it would be enough when the medium was a person. He burned the failed construct dust from the table and swept silver wire into a jar for recycling. Tomorrow the mooring. Tomorrow a living core. He slept 2 hours because the body eventually insisted, and because Seraphine would have filed the medical complaint if he had refused again. The annex went dark. The cycle chart stayed lit by a single lamp. Morning low. Afternoon rise. Dusk peak. The schedule had not changed while he worked. Damien's afternoons had. The anchor mapping sessions happened at Eastward Light on December 6th and 7th because neutral ground was the only ground where Damien's morning voice could speak without church vocabulary in the walls. Kael ran void echo at contact range, hands not yet on chest, palms hovering 4 centimeters above the sternum, close enough for resolution, far enough not to trigger the anchor's defensive reflex. 15-minute windows. 3 sessions. Damien sat on the birth room's plain chair with his shirt open to the collarbone and his eyes closed, breathing the way Bright's medical officer had taught him. Slow, counted, not meditation, management. The church layer came through first every time. Light magic architecture, organic in structure, grown into Damien's gold aura the way Kael had resolved it in July, a trellis supporting a vine. Impressive work. Clean lines. Genuine amplification channels. And the designed incompleteness, circuits terminating short of completion, locks without keys, waiting. The order layer sat against it like a second skin sewn with different thread. Dark and coated. Compressed. Mechanical precision where the church layer was cultivated growth. Not woven in, placed on. Added later, after the blessing was established, after Damien was already the hero in storybook terms and the church had already told the continent what he meant. Kael mapped the junction in ink on vellum that would be burned after reading. Seraphine held the perimeter. Bright held the door. Gareth did not come. He said the infirmary was where men who could not help belonged during surgery, and Kael had not argued. The anchor was 2 things, not one thing with a disguise. First layer. Church of Light Foundation, the original hero blessing. Light magic, deeply integrated with Damien's core, years in the making, doctrinally legitimate even if the institution that built it was compromised. It amplified. It shaped. It left incomplete channels that could be completed by external keys. Second layer, Order Edition, dark encoded override placed after the foundation set. It held the keys. It completed the circuits on activation. It steered conviction. It was the mechanism Solon had directed in the field without Damien feeling directed. Removing both simultaneously would tear the trellis and the vine together. Removing only the Order Edition might leave the church foundation, which might be harmless amplification Damien could learn to manage, or which might retain reduced steering capacity through the blessing's own incomplete architecture if the key's absence did not close the channels cleanly. Unknown. Better unknown than the afternoon weapon. Kael wrote the 2-layer distinction on fresh vellum in numbers that had no metaphor. Seraphine would not read this copy. Bright would read the operational summary. Gareth would read a redacted map. The metaphor was for the corridor afterward, if there was an afterward. December 6th morning, first session. Neutral water moved against stone outside. Inside, Damien's breath counted 4 in, 4 held, 4 out. Kael's void echo resolved structure in layers, church first, order second, junction third. The keys sat dormant in morning low, visible as architecture without activation. At minute 9, Damien whispered, "I can feel you looking." Kael said, "I'm mapping, not cutting." Damien said, "It still feels like being seen." Kael did not answer. Truth was not always kind. He withdrew at minute 14. Clean stop. No residue. December 6th afternoon, Kael broke resolution at minute 11 when Damien's cycle began its rise. The keys began to seat. Not fully, afternoon had not won, but the architecture shifted, dark encoded precision tightening against light foundation like a hand closing on a tool. Damien said, eyes still closed. It's starting. Kael withdrew immediately. Damien opened his eyes. You saw it. Kael said, I saw the keys seat. Damien said, it feels like certainty. Kael said, I know. Damien said, will you be able to cut only the second one? Kael said, if the boundary holds, yes. Damien said, and if it doesn't? Kael said, then we stop before we take the first. He did not say or you die because Damien already knew. Bright made a note. Thus wiped sweat from Damien's collarbone without comment. December 7th morning, the deepest map. Neural integration confirmed what the 13th construct test had warned. The order layer's edges had grown into tissue adjacent to core channels, not the core itself, not the church foundation, but the connective architecture between magic and body. Fine filaments. Partial entanglement. Like roots that had crossed from a pot into native soil. Kael logged the finding with the precision of a man writing an amputation line. Extraction must sever magical structure without severing filament anchors. Risk, cascade if filaments pull. Mitigation, unknown. Between sessions, Damien sat breathing counted breaths while Thess wiped sweat from his collarbone and said nothing about fear because sometimes silence was the correct medicine. Damien said once, eyes closed, you can see it. Kael said, yes. Damien said, is it me? Kael said, part of it is you. Part was put on you. Damien said, cut the put on part. Not permission to Kael. Permission to himself. The second session ran 12 minutes. The third ran 15, maximum allowed in morning low before cycle compression made the map unreliable. Kael's hands trembled once when he withdrew. Not from drain. From proximity to a problem that had no clean geometry. He had mitigation research from Bear's medical annex by evening, Aura core surgery records, 3 cases of partial graft removal, 2 failures, 1 partial success with permanent tremor. Not enough data. Enough to name the risk honestly in the private document. Not enough to share the full probability table with Seraphine. Bright read the neural integration note December 7th at dusk. She said, you should abort. Kael said, if I abort, tightening wins or killing wins. There is no clean abort that leaves him a person. She said, there may be no clean proceed that leaves him alive. He said, I know. She said, medical officer in the room. Armed readiness in my hands, not yours. If cascade begins and you cannot complete or stop, I end him. Kael met her eyes. He said, Seraphine's fallback is the same. Bright said, I know. I prefer 1 fallback, not 3 competing ones. He said, December 9th. Morning low. Bright said, I'll be there. Gareth read the 2-layer map that night, vellum copy, not original. Gareth said, the church built the trellis. The order planted the parasite. Kael said, yes. Gareth said, can you take the parasite without killing the tree? Kael said, if the filaments cooperate. Gareth said, trees don't cooperate. Kael said, people do. Sometimes. Gareth folded the copy. December 9th. Kael said, yes. Gareth said, morning voice. Kael said, yes. December 7th night, Damien sent a message through Bright's courier. Not operational, personal. Afternoon almost took me back today. Perrin's deputy tried to hand me a list. I threw it. Then I picked it up. I don't know which one was me. Kael read it once and burned it. He wrote in the private document, cycle compression accelerating. Operation cannot slip past December 9th. Seraphine read over his shoulder. She said, then it doesn't slip. He said, no. The anchor was mapped. The boundary was drawn in ink that would burn. The filaments were the part the ink could not reach. Kael slept 2 hours and dreamed of schoolhouse doors, not fire, just doors and children going through them the way children did when drills worked and adults did their jobs. He woke with the dream still in his hands like filament. He did not tell Gareth. He told the mapping vellum instead, in numbers that had no metaphor. Then he burned that too. December 8th would be conclusion. December 9th would be the room. He checked the void echo rotation 1 more time before dawn, 8 types, recording function primed, dark erasure calibrated in air without a body beneath. The rehearsal was not enough. It was what he had. He walked the mooring pier once before sleeping, neutral water, neutral stone, east berth room dark. December cold on his face. Somewhere north, Perrin's contingent held discipline by habit while their heroes' afternoons worsened. Somewhere south, 158 days of quiet continued without caring. The anchor was 2 layers. The filaments were the third problem, not a layer, a consequence. Roots that had crossed from pot into soil. Ink could map them. Constructs could simulate them. Only a living body could answer whether they would pull. December 8th would name the capability. December 9th would test the name against a person. Kael returned to the command post and did not sleep again until the second hour before dawn. Kael concluded on December 8th, in the hour before dawn, with the research logs open and the mooring map session vellum already burned. Void Echo could remove the order's addition specifically. The method required space and dark magic simultaneously at peak performance, braided through the Echo's recording function. Not replay this time, but capture and hold. Extend the Echo into Damien's core architecture, map the anchor in real time. Record the order layer's structure into the Echo's storage medium. Maintain an integrity boundary around the church foundation with space magic's precision while dark magic's erasure component cut along the seam. Then withdraw the recording like pulling a splinter with tweezers made of void. If he missed the boundary, took the church layer with the order layer, the extraction would likely take Damien's natural core with both. Death or collapse. If he held the boundary and the filaments cooperated, Damien would remain amplified by the church blessing without the order's keys. Reduced to something closer to natural gold with light architecture, he would have to learn to manage. Morning voice without afternoon steering. Life with cost. The conclusion was not optimism. It was geometry. He wrote the capability statement in the private document. Void Echo extraction viable at contact range, morning cycle low. Order layer target. Church foundation preserved by spatial integrity field. Erasure depth calibrated from construct tests 9 to 14. Hold duration requirement, approximately 40 minutes sustained, exceeds prior Echo operational maximum by factor of 45. Neural filament risk, flagged, mitigation incomplete. The erasure component of dark magic was not destruction in the crude sense, it was unmaking along defined edges, the opposite of the church's growth architecture. Space magic held the edge. Void Echo remembered what the edge was supposed to look like on the other side. 3 abilities, 1 operation. At diamond rank, with a sovereign core, he still did not declare publicly. With 9 years of combination practice since the Academy Annex, where Lyra's lightning drill had become the first stable hold. He walked the capability statement sentence by sentence with Seraphine at the main table. Gray light through the eastern window. The command post yard still. Calder's honor guard not yet on shift. She said, 40 minutes is a lifetime in a chair. He said, yes. She said, can you hold 40? He said, I can attempt 40. She said, attempt is not hold. He said, it's the only honest word I have. She did not ask for percentages. He noticed she did not ask. He was grateful and afraid of the gratitude. He demonstrated the hold profile at minimum resolution, palms open above the table, void echo extending 3 centimeters into air, recording the room's ambient magical noise and releasing it. 15 minutes. Drain visible in the fine tremor at his wrists. Not 40. Not a core. Proof of mechanism only. Seraphine watched without speaking. When he withdrew, she said, the drain at 15 is already significant. He said, contact changes the profile. Density of target matters. She said, a saint equivalent core matters. He said, yes. She said, tomorrow. He said, tomorrow. Bright received the capability summary December 8th at noon. Her response was 1 line. Operation authorized. Medical officer thus, Silverlight field surgeon or a core experience. Room prepared. December 9th, 2nd hour after dawn. Damien's message, separate channel, blocky handwriting. I'll be there. Morning. Don't be late. Kael said to Seraphine, tomorrow. She said, I'll be outside the room. He said, if Cascade. She said, I know my job. He said, Bright has the same job. She said, then we'll see who reaches the door first. He did not smile. She did not either. Gareth gave him nothing ceremonial December 8th evening. Gareth said, the splinter metaphor. Kael said, accurate. Gareth said, splinters sometimes take flesh with them. Kael said, I know. Gareth said, and if the filaments pull. Kael said, then I adapt or we fail. Gareth said, adapt fast. Kael said, yes. Gareth left him at the secondary room door. The capability was named. The operation was scheduled. The boundary between order and church was a line drawn in magic only Kael could see. December 8th afternoon, he walked the command post outer wall with the capability statement memorized and the percentages still unwritten. Seraphine found him there. She said, you're going to hide numbers from me. He said, I'm going to carry them. She said, there's a difference. He said, yes. She said, don't carry 10 alone. He did not answer. She said, I'll be outside the room. That hasn't changed. He said, I know. She left before he could file her sentence in the compartment that was getting crowded with things he was not examining. He reviewed the construct logs one final time, tests 9 through 14, erasure depth curve, hold duration ceiling, neural analog microtug. The gap between 53 seconds and 40 minutes remained a cliff. Contact range might change the math. Morning low might change the math. Damien's willingness to stay still might change the math. Might. He had no better instrument than might. Tomorrow he would cut along the line with his hands on a hero's chest and hope the person inside survived the surgery. Tonight he checked the void echo rotation one more time, 8 types, recording function primed, dark erasure calibrated, space integrity field rehearsed in air without a body beneath. The rehearsal was not enough. It was what he had. He slept 90 minutes before midnight because Seraphine had said no and meant it. Dreamless. That was almost reassuring. The capability was named. The room was prepared. The morning low would not wait for certainty. He spent the remaining daylight hours on logistics thus requested, aura monitor calibration, chair arm padding for sustained contact, abort signal protocol if Damien could not squeeze Thessa's hand. Bright reviewed each item without ceremony. Seraphine reviewed perimeter, 400 meters, honor guard at distance, Calder's men briefed to hold unless called. Damien sent no message December 8th afternoon. That silence was its own data. Morning low spent. Afternoon rising somewhere north of the mooring. The cycle did not pause for capability statements. Kael ate because Seraphine placed food on the table and stood until he lifted the fork. Gareth passed through once, read the capability summary header, said nothing left. At dusk Kael stood on the command post wall and watched the southern horizon without seeing it. The void echo rotation turned in his mind, 8 types, recording primed, erasure calibrated, integrity field rehearsed in memory until the rehearsal became reflex. 40 minutes. 70% in the private document he had not yet written. That would be December 8th night, after Seraphine left the main table. Tonight the capability was named. Tomorrow the percentages would be carried. Tomorrow the room would decide which number had been right. He went inside when the lamp Seraphine left burning on the main table guttered low. The conclusion was geometry. Geometry did not guarantee survival. It only guaranteed that the method existed if hands steady enough could execute it. He intended to be those hands. December 8th night belonged to Seraphine and Gareth and the closed private document, but that was the next movement in the sequence. First, the capability had to settle in the room where it had been named. Seraphine asked one more question before leaving the main table at dusk. What does partial success look like for him? He said, tremor. Reduced amplification. Possible residual conviction bleed in afternoons until the church foundation learns to close its own channels. She said, and catastrophic. He said, you know catastrophic. She said, I want to hear you say it. He said, berserk without anchor. Core collapse. Or me failing at minute 35 with my hands on his chest. She absorbed that without flinching. She said, December 9th. He said, December 9th. She left. The capability statement stayed on the table until he burned the working copy and kept the memorized version only. Geometry did not comfort. It oriented. He oriented toward dawn. The void echo rotation turned in his mind one last time before sleep. 8 types. Recording primed. 40 minutes on the schedule. One person in the chair who had said build fast and mend it. The capability was named. Tomorrow the room would test the name. Kael ran the probability calculations on December 8th after Seraphine left the main table and before he allowed himself to sleep. He did not use guesswork. He used the construct failure log, the mapping session data, the medical annex outcomes, the degradation curves from Goldfield interference tests, and the single variable he could not quantify. Damien's willingness to stay still while something cut through his chest without a blade. Clean success. Order layer removed. Church foundation intact within 8 damage tolerance. Natural core stable, no cascade. Damien conscious within 6 hours. Partial success. Order layer removed with church layer damage 8 to 20. Natural core stable with complications, tremor, reduced amplification. Possible residual afternoon conviction bleed. Catastrophic failure. Boundary miss. Cascade, berserk without anchor control, or core collapse. He weighted the variables 3 times with different assumptions about filament behavior. First pass, optimistic filament cooperation, clean 78, partial 17, catastrophic 5. Second pass, neutral 70, 20, 10. Third pass, pessimistic 55, 25, 20. He used the second pass because optimism killed strategists and pessimism would have stopped him before the mooring. 70% clean success. 20% partial success with complications. 10% catastrophic failure. He wrote the numbers in the private document and closed it before the ink dried. He did not share them with Seraphine. The reasons were not cowardice. If he told her 70, she would hear 30, and 30 included the scenarios where he died inside arm's reach of a saint-equivalent berserker. She would argue delay. Bright would lose doctrinal cover. Damien's afternoon cycle would win another week of schoolhouses. If he told her 10, she would hear permission to proceed, and 10 was not permission. It was a cliff edge dressed as statistics. The numbers were for him to carry into the room the way soldiers carried spare bandages. Not because bandages made the wound impossible, but because entering without them was negligence. He would be honest about risk. He would not be honest about probability. Failure modes named. 1. Damien goes fully berserk. Order anchor destabilized without complete removal. Cascade failure in the whole control structure. Steering keys shattering while amplification remains. Saint equivalent violence without direction. Bright's armed fallback. Seraphine's elimination fallback. Kael inside the radius. 2. Damien's core collapses, boundary miss, church layer torn, natural core taken with order layer. Death in the chair or death in convulsion. The person and the weapon erased together. 3. Kael fails before either void echo overextension, 40-minute hold beyond prior maximum, nosebleed becoming something worse, hands losing precision at minute 35. He mitigated what he could, morning window, medical officer Thesson room, Bright at armed readiness, Seraphine outside listening, contact range only, abort line drawn at church layer damage exceeding 12 in live feedback. He could not mitigate filaments he had never cut before. He ran the numbers again with filament pull modeled at mapping session severity. Clean dropped to 68. Partial rose to 22. Catastrophic held at 10. He ran them again with afternoon cycle compression from Damien's December 7th message. Clean dropped to 65. Partial rose to 24. Catastrophic rose to 11. He returned to the second pass, 70, 20, 10, because revising downward all night would not change the room, only his hands. 70, 20, 10. December 8th night, he sat with the closed private document and did not open it again. Seraphine passed the doorway once. She said, "You're calculating." He said, "Yes." She said, "Share it." He said, "When it's over." She looked at him. Violet eyes, composure, the specific stillness that meant she was reading his face for the thing he was not saying. She said, 10%. He did not confirm or deny. She said, "That's what your face does when you're carrying a number you think I'll hate." He said, "My face is unreliable." She said, "No." She left. He opened the document once more, added a line beneath the percentages. Do not share. Proceed December 9th. He closed it. The risk was quantified. The risk was not reduced. He slept 90 minutes. Dawn December 9th. Gray light on the command post yard. Southern Pool Courier departed with another clean report. 158 days quiet. Gareth said, you have numbers. Kael said, yes. Gareth said, she knows you have numbers. Kael said, she knows the shape. Not the table. Gareth said, good enough. Kael said, it has to be. He rode for the mooring at the first hour. The percentages rode with him, closed in the spatial ring, not on paper. 70, 20, 10. The ride to Eastward Light took 9 hours through December cold. Frost on relay station roofs. Mud frozen at the edges. Seraphine rode parallel with Calders on her guard at distance, visible, not intrusive. Gareth remained at command post. His message at dawn had been 2 words, morning voice. Kael read it once. At the relay station halfway, Torrens correspondent forwarded church tightening team movement. Stalled again. Selene protest. Bright's signature holding. 24 hours had become 18 days since November 20th. The continent had not stopped moving while Kael built a method in a secondary room. Damien had not stopped being a weapon while Kael learned to unmake weapons without killing the person inside. The percentages had not changed on the ride. He would know which one before noon. At the final relay, he checked the void echo rotation without extending it, habit, not rehearsal. 8 types. Recording primed. Dark erasure calibrated. Space integrity rehearsed in memory. The mooring appeared through bare trees, neutral water, neutral stone, east berth room waiting. Seraphine pulled alongside at 400 meters and did not speak. He did not need her to. The numbers were his. The room was ahead. The morning low was holding. For now. At Eastward Light the east berth room had been prepared while he rode, plain chair centered, aura monitors on arms, thus arranging sterile cloth, though no blade would enter Damien's chest. Bright inspected the door hinges as if convulsion might tear them. Seraphine walked the perimeter at 400 meters and did not come closer until the gangway. Kael washed blood from an old nosebleed that was not today's, habit, not injury. He checked the void echo rotation in the spatial ring. 8 types. Recording primed. Erasure depth from construct test 14. Integrity field rehearsed until his wrists remembered the shape. 70. 20. 10. He did not say them aloud. Seraphine would hear 30 and 70 and argue delay. She would hear permission in 10, and he would not give permission, only probability, and probability was not the same as consent from the person in the chair. Damien had consented at the mooring. Build fast. Morning voice. Plain tired syntax. That was consent enough for the room. The percentages were for Kael alone, carried in the spatial ring, closed like the private document. Weight distributed across 9 hours of riding and 1 gangway warning, and the second hour after dawn when morning low held and the door opened and hands touched chest and the void echo opened and the extraction that had been proposed November 21st finally began. He had 14 days of construct failures behind him. He had 2 days of mapping sessions behind him. He had 1 night of numbers behind him. He had 40 minutes ahead. The risk was quantified. The risk was not reduced. He entered the corridor. Seraphine was already at the wall. The gangway warning came next. Then the room. The gangway was 12 meters of neutral planks between corridor and east berth room, silver light stone giving way to mooring wood, salt air seeping through gaps. The specific creak of a structure that had hosted treaties and smuggling and 1 prior meeting where Kael had listened to Damien's morning voice and filed come back without examining it. Seraphine waited at the interior wall. He stopped. The percentages pressed against his ribs 70, 20, 10, not cards to show, weights to carry. She warned him. He entered. The operation that had been proposed November 21st in a secondary room full of construct dust and failed matrices had become hands on a hero's chest and void echo open and minute 1 counting toward 40. The research phase was behind him. The anchor map was behind him. The capability was named. The risk was quantified and not shared. What remained was execution. Morning low, contact range, record, hold, erase, release, and the hope that 14 days of failure had purchased enough vocabulary to keep a person alive when the medium stopped being glass and silver and became Damien cross-breathing counted breaths in a plain chair with Thes's monitors on his arms and bright sidearm visible at the door. He opened the door. Morning voice in Damien's eyes. Fear held still. The extraction began. She warned him at the gangway before he entered the East Birth Room. December 9th. Second hour after dawn. Morning low holding Damien inside, shirt open, eyes closed. Thus the medical officer arranging aura monitors along the chair's arms, bright at the door with silver light sidearm visible because visible was honest. Seraphine stood 4 meters from the door on the interior corridor wall where she could hear without being in the room. Kael stopped. The gangway creaked under his boots. Neutral water moved below. Calder's honor guard held perimeter at distance. Visible discipline, orders not to enter unless called. The East Birth Room's door was plain wood with iron hinges that had seen a century of neutral meetings and none like this. She did not ask for the numbers. She said, "If this fails in the worst way, you will be within arm's reach of a saint-equivalent berserker with no anchor control at all." He said, "Yes." She said, "If you do this and it goes wrong, you won't forgive yourself." He said, "I know." She said, "Then be very sure it doesn't go wrong." He said, "I'm sure as I can be." She did not say good luck. She said, "I'll be outside the room." He nodded once. She said, "Come back." The second time she had said it. He filed it again without examining. He opened the door. Bright said, "Medical officer reports baseline stable. Morning cycle confirmed low. Abort line 12% church layer stress. Fallback mine if cascade exceeds your control." Kael said, "Understood." Damien opened his eyes. Morning voice in them, bare and young. He said, "I'm still scared." Kael said, "Good." Damien said, "Started scared. Didn't stop." Kael said, "Stay scared. Stay still." He said, "This will take 40 minutes. Pressure inside your chest. If certainty rises, tell me. If convulsion begins, tell me. If you can't speak, squeeze Thes's hand." Thes said, "Once for cycle rise. Twice for pain. 3 for can't breathe." Damien said, "Okay." Kael did not say trust me. He placed his hands on Damien's chest. Contact. Warmth through shirt linen. Gold aura beneath, saint equivalent even at morning low, whether in a building, pressure against his palms like standing too close to a bonfire that had not yet chosen to burn. The void echo opened. Not the eye's spatial awareness, but the quieter frequency, tuned to magical structure. Recording function engaged. Dark affinity filling the container. Space magic building the integrity field in air before it touched architecture. Outside, Seraphine listened. The extraction began. Minute 1, map confirmed. July's sketch accurate. Order layer keys visible, dormant. Church trellis intact. Junction line drawn in void where ink had been burned. Minute 2, Damien's breath hitched once. Thes noted it. No squeeze. Minute 3, Kael's world beginning to narrow, palms, seam, count. The room's ambient noise fell away. Bright stillness at the door became peripheral. Thes's clinical quiet became rhythm. Minute 4, Damien opened his eyes once to confirm Kael was still there, then closed them again. Minute 5, recording hold established. Order layer structure entering echo storage, mechanism not spell, dark encoded precision captured millimeter by magical millimeter. Kael said nothing. Speaking would break count. Damien whispered at minute 6, pressure. Kael said, "I know." Hold. Minute 7, erasure component calibrated live, 12 from construct tests, holding at junction without cutting yet. Church layer feedback showed stress at 3. Margin intact. Minute 8, sweat on Kael's wrists. Not Damien's. His. Minute 9, filament edges visible at mapping resolution, tissue adjacent, fine roots. He logged them in memory. Mitigation incomplete. Proceed. Minute 10, erasure depth adjusted too shallower when church layer feedback showed stress at the junction. Damien's jaw relaxed 1 degree. Outside, Seraphine heard nothing useful yet, breathing, Thes's quiet notes, the moorings in different creek. Inside, Damien whispered at minute 12, "Still here." Kael said, "Stay." The second hour after dawn held. The room held. The warning had been given. The work had begun. The gangway warning would have to be enough until the room proved it. Kael counted minute 13 in breath and seam and the weight of 40 minutes he had never held. The void echo remembered what the edge was supposed to look like on the other side. He would need every second of memory the echo had. Outside, Seraphine's hand found the rapier hilt without drawing. Inside, Kael held the boundary and did not look at the door. The extraction was minute 13 of 40. The morning low was still holding. For now. Minute 14, 20% recorded. Damien's breath counted steady, 4 in, 4 held, 4 out. Thus noted church layer stress at 4. Bright did not move from the door. Minute 15, Kael's prior maximum for sustained resolution at range. Contact changed the drain, heavier, denser, like holding a door open against wind that wanted to become storm. His shoulders ached. He did not shift his palms. Shifting would break resolution. Minute 16, 24% recorded. Order layer keys still dormant. Junction seam holding. Dark erasure waiting at the line space magic drew. Minute 17, filament edges unchanged. No tug yet. Construct test 13 had warned. Mapping session had confirmed. Waiting was data. Minute 18, sweat on his wrists. Not Damien's. His. The room's temperature had not changed. The drain had. Minute 19, 28% recorded. Damien's fingers rested on chair arms. Still. Morning voice holding against cycle compression that would come later if they ran long. Minute 20, Damien whispered, "Still here," without being asked. Kael said, "Stay." Minute 21, 32%. Church layer stress 5. Margin intact. Abort line 12%. 7% buffer remaining. Minute 22. Separation beginning. The splinter withdrawing millimeter by magical millimeter. Echo storage filling. Dark erasure cutting along the line his space field held. Minute 23. Damien's fingers found Thessa's hand. Not squeeze. Anchor. Minute 24. 36% recorded and cut. Filament tug first registered, tissue-adjacent resistance, roots the 13th construct had warned about. He slowed erasure depth 4. The pull eased. Did not stop. Minute 25. Thess said, "Clinically accurate liar if I say this is fine." Damien did not laugh. He squeezed Thessa's hand once, not alarm. Contact. Minute 26. 40%. Half the order layer in echo storage. Half still rooted. Pressure inside Damien's chest visible in the tight line of his jaw. Minute 27. Church layer stress 6. Damien's breath counted. Management holding. Minute 28. Filament tug steady. Not crisis, not safe. The space between. Minute 29. 44%. Nose warmth behind Kael's eyes. Overextension pressure. Not failure yet. Invoice accumulating. Minute 30. 48%. Damien whispered, "Pressure." Kael said, 8 more minutes. Minute 31, 52%. Tug increased 1 degree. Shallower cut. Pull eased 1 degree. Minute 32, 56%. Damien's jaw tightened, cycle trying to rise early. Thess said, "Squeeze once." Damien squeezed once. Kael said, "Fight it." Damien said, "Okay." Morning voice. Minute 33, 60% recorded and cut. Church layer stress 8%. 4% margin to abort line. Minute 34. Tug became pull. Warning, not crisis. Minute 35, 64%. Damien's back stiffened. Minute 36, 68%. Pull steady. Kael slowed erasure 3 shallower. Minute 37, 72%. Damien's back arched 1 degree. Not full convulsion. Not yet. Outside, Seraphine's palm found the door without pushing. Inside, Kael held the boundary and counted minute 38 approaching like a cliff-edge dressed as time. The extraction was minute 37 of 40. The morning low was still holding. Barely. Outside, Seraphine listened to minute 37 become 38 without yet hearing the chair scream. The arc beginning, pressure building, Kael's breathing changing quality 1 more degree. Inside, Bright watched the sidearm without drawing. Thus watched monitors. Damien's morning voice held against cycle compression with counted breath and Thess's hand, and the plain tired courage of a man who had said build fast at the mooring and mend it. Kael had built. Now he cut. Minute 38 was still ahead, filament pull becoming crisis, boundary slipping, door opening, second pair of hands not yet placed. For minute 37 the room still held. The morning low still held. The extraction was not done. The work continued. He looked at her for a moment before entering the room. Not the long look of argument. They had finished arguing on November 20th. 3 hours of values logged and compromise written. Not the tactical look of briefing that had been December 8th. Capability statement. I'll be outside the room repeated until it became operational language. This look was shorter. It carried the private documents closed cover and the percentages he had not spoken and the construct failures and the schoolhouse account and the sentence, when did I stop protecting people, and the fact that his hands would be on a living core in minutes in a way no academy instructor had ever taught, because no academy instructor had ever been asked to unmake a person into themselves. Seraphine looked back. She expected calculation. She always expected calculation when Kael went into danger. The sovereign's eye before battle, the spatial fold before flight, the 41 minutes Gareth had spent in diamond extension while she read dispatches and pretended not to count seconds. She expected the face he wore when the map was complete and the cost was accepted. What she saw was not that. What she saw was fear held so still it resembled calm, not the performance of composure she used in noble council rooms, not the cold precision of a strategist who had already decided other people were acceptable losses. Something more dangerous to her equilibrium. A man who had not decided the cost was acceptable, only that the alternative was worse. He was afraid of failing Damien. He was afraid of failing her. He was afraid of the 10% he had not named and the 20% that would leave a hero trembling for life and the 70% that might still cost something they would not know until afterward. She read all of that in a moment. She did not look away. He did not speak. Speaking would have made it a promise. Promises in this war had a habit of becoming liabilities, the kind of sentence an enemy could hold against you, the kind of sentence you could not take back when the room went wrong. He looked at her. She looked at him. The corridor held neutral air and silver light stone and the faint warmth of Damien's aura through the closed door, saint equivalent even at morning low, weather in a building. Bright said, behind the door, baseline stable. Thess said, ready. The moment ended. He went in. She stayed outside. She stood very still for 1 breath, 2, 3, the way she had stood on the northern ridge at 400 meters while Kael held the eye on her position crossing demon neutral ground toward Veth's pavilion, trust filing itself without examination. This was not the eye's radius. This was a corridor wall and a door and 40 minutes of listening ahead. She moved to her position. Hand on rapier hilt. Ear tuned to the room's first sound. She had warned him. He had said I know. That was the whole conversation they were allowed. The rest would be magic and filament and a boundary drawn in void. She did not pray. House Voss did not pray in corridors. She stood. Inside, Kael's hands touched Damien's chest. The void echo opened. Outside, Seraphine listened for the sound that would tell her whether she had to become the fallback. It did not come yet. Not yet. She breathed once, controlled, precise. She waited. Minute 5 passed without convulsion. Breathing steady through would Damien's counted rhythm, Kael's slower discipline, Thess's clinical quiet between them. Bright did not speak. Seraphine had learned to read Bright's silences from 3 prior mooring meetings. This silence meant watch, not intervene. Minute 10 passed. Damien whispered something too low to parse. Kael answered 1 word. Stay. Seraphine's fingers loosened on the hilt 1 degree. Not relief. Recalculation. Minute 15, Kael's prior maximum for sustained resolution at range. Contact changed the drain. She could not see it, but she could hear it in the quality of his breathing. Heavier than minute 10, denser than minute 5. Minute 18, nothing useful. The mooring creaked. Neutral water moved against stone. Minute 20. Damien whispered again, "Still here," and Kael said stay, and the exchange had the texture of morning voice, not afternoon certainty. Seraphine counted her own breaths without meaning to, because counting was what you did when you could not hold the field yourself, and refusing to listen was not an option. She had watched Kael in danger before. Noble Council presentations where the danger was political. Demon Pavilion approaches where the danger was species and history. Ridge engagements where the danger was diamond commanders and spatial folds that overspilled. This danger was different because the room was small and the stake was one person they had both decided not to sacrifice, and the sound would tell her whether sacrifice had become mandatory. Minute 25 passed without chair scream. Minute 30 with Thessa's voice too low to parse. Clinical notes, not alarm. Minute 32. The quality of Kael's breathing changed. Not panic. Effort. She leaned 1 degree closer to the door without touching it. Minute 35. Damien's voice tight, morning still but strained. Okay. Thess said something about squeeze. Once. Cycle trying to rise early. Not won. Not lost. Minute 37. Silence that was not rest. Silence that was concentration so complete it had no sound left over. Minute 38. The world broke wrong for 3 seconds inside wood and stone. Not louder. Wronger. Chair wood against stone. A sound that was not voice and not furniture alone, body rejecting something the room was doing to it. Seraphine's hand left the rapier hilt. Her palm found the door. Inside, Kael's boundary slipped. She heard it in the change of his breathing, the break in rhythm, the room's acoustic shift when precision failed. Outside, Seraphine was already moving. The look at the gangway had been the last stillness allowed. She did not pray. House boss did not pray in corridors. She opened the door. Inside, the chair screamed against stone. Inside, Kael said something she could not parse, one word, broken. Inside, Bright's voice tight, controlled, 2 seconds. Seraphine crossed the threshold with her hands already rising. The listening was over. What came next was not waiting. The corridor had been her post, 4 meters from the door, rapier hilt, ear tuned to wood and stone, and the faint weather of Damien's aura bleeding through cracks. She had warned him at the gangway. Come back, the second time. He had filed it. She had let him file it because the room required his hands, not his promises. 40 minutes on the schedule. 38 had passed in sounds she could parse and sounds she could not. The 38th minute had broken wrong. Calder's honor guard held perimeter at distance, her order, their discipline, the specific torture of soldiers who knew something was wrong and had been told to hold. She did not look back at them when she crossed the threshold. Looking back was corridor thinking. Room thinking was ahead. Inside, Thess shouted something clinical. Bright's boots shifted, weight moving toward fallback position. Damien made a sound that was not word and not scream alone, body language and audio, rejection, terror. Kael's breathing broke rhythm. Seraphine's hands rose, light gathering before she had fully entered, inheritance answering crisis the way training answered blade. The listening was over. The room was here. The crisis was here. She went in. Outside, neutral water moved against stone and the mooring creaked and Calder's honor guard did not move. Inside, the East Birth room had become too small for what magic was doing to a person in a chair, saint-equivalent aura spiking wrong, monitors screaming silently on Thessa's table, Bright's sidearm half-cleared, Kael's hands blood-slick on Damien's chest. Boundary slipping in a sound Seraphine could hear even before she saw it. She had listened for 38 minutes. She would not listen through the 10%. Her palms would find his before fallback fired, or they would not, and the room would choose a number she had not been given. She crossed the last meter with light rising in her hands. The door was behind her. The crisis was in front of her. The look before entering was spent. The listening was spent. What remained was intervention, and whether intervention would be enough was not yet known. The extraction took 40 minutes on the schedule. Kael intended to use all of them. Damien sat in the morning low, shirt open, eyes closed until minute 4 when he opened them once to confirm Kael was still there, then closed them again. Commander Bright held the door, neutral witness, armed readiness in her hands, sidearm visible because visible was honest. Medical officer Thess monitored aura signatures on the chair arms, clinical quiet between notes, abort line at 12% church layer stress. Kael's palms on Damien's chest. Void echo extended into core architecture, not the eye's spatial awareness, but the quieter frequency, tuned to magical structure. Recording the order layer's dark encoded precision into the echo storage, while space magic built the integrity boundary around the church foundation and dark magic's erasure component waited at the seam like a blade that had not yet committed. Minute 1, map confirmed. July's sketch accurate. Order layer keys visible. Church trellis intact. Minute 2, Damien's breath hitched once. Thess noted it. No squeeze. Minute 3, junction line resolved at contact resolution, finer than mapping hover, heavier than construct simulation. The anchor was not glass and silver. It was a person. Minute 4, Damien's eyes opened, found Kael's face, closed again. Trust without vocabulary. Minute 5, recording hold established. Damien's breath hitched once more, then steadied. Thess noted it. No squeeze. Minute 6, order layer structure entering echo storage, mechanism not spell, keys dormant, dark encoded precision captured in void. Minute 7, church layer stress 3, margin intact. Kael held erasure at seam without cutting. Minute 8, sweat on his wrists. The room's temperature had not changed. The drain had. Minute 9, filament edges visible at live resolution, tissue adjacent roots, mapping session accurate. He slowed nothing yet. Data first. Minute 10, erasure depth calibrated live 12 from construct tests, adjusted 2 shallower when church layer feedback showed stress at the junction. Damien's jaw relaxed 1 degree. Minute 11, void echo storage at 11% of order layer mass. Hold stable. Count held. Minute 12, Damien whispered, still here, without being asked. Kael said, stay. Minute 13, 14% recorded. Junction seem visible as line and void. Space field holding. Dark erasure waiting. Minute 14, church layer stress 4. Thess made a note without alarm. Minute 15, Kael's prior maximum for sustained resolution at range. Contact changed the drain, heavier, denser, like holding a door open against wind that wanted to become storm. His shoulders ached. He did not shift his palms. Minute 16, 18% recorded. Damien's fingers rested on chair arms. Still. Minute 17, erasure depth held. Filament edges unchanged. No tug yet. Minute 18, sweat on his wrists. Not Damien's. His. Nose dry. Eyes clear. 40 minutes remained theoretical. Minute 19, 22% recorded. Order layer separation not yet begun. Record first, cut second, withdraw third. Discipline. Minute 20, Damien whispered, still here, without being asked. Kael said, stay. Minute 21, 26% recorded. Church layer stress 5. Margin intact. Minute 22, order layer separation began. The splinter withdrawing millimeter by magical millimeter, echo storage filling with mechanism not spell, dark erasure cutting along the line his space field held. Minute 23, Damien's fingers found Thess's hand. Not squeeze. Anchor. Minute 24, 30% recorded and cut. Filament tug first registered, tissue adjacent resistance, roots the 13th construct had warned about. He slowed erasure depth 4. The pull eased. Did not stop. Minute 25, Thess said, clinically accurate liar if I say this is fine. Damien did not laugh. Morning voice had no room for laughter. He squeezed Thess's hand once, not alarm. Contact. Minute 26, 34%. Tug again. Shallower cut. Pull eased again. Minute 27, church layer stress 6. Damien's breath counted 4 in, 4 held, 4 out. Management holding. Minute 28, filament tug registered steady, not crisis, not safe. The space between. Minute 29, 38% recorded and cut. Kael's vision narrowed 1 degree. Not failure. Focus. Minute 30, 40%. Half the order layer in echo storage. Half still rooted. Damien whispered, Pressure. Kael said, 10 more minutes. Minute 31. Nose warmth, overextension, pressure behind his eyes. He did not wipe. Wiping would break contact. Minute 32. Filament tug increased 1 degree. He slowed erasure 3 shallower. Church layer stress 7. Minute 33. 44%. Damien's jaw tightened, cycle trying to rise early. Thess said, squeeze once. Damien squeezed once. Kael said, fight it. 10 more minutes. Damien said, okay. Morning voice. Kael held the boundary. Minute 34. 48%. Key structure visible in the remaining mass. The steering architecture Solon had used without Damien feeling directed. Minute 35. Order layer 60% recorded and cut. Church layer stress 8%. Minute 36. Tug became pull. Not crisis yet. Warning. Minute 37. Damien's back stiffened. Not arch. Not yet. Thess's eyes on monitors. Minute 38. Filament tug became pull. Neural filaments drawn with the order layers remaining 40%. Damien's back arched. The chair screamed against stone. Thess said, cascade signature. Bright's sidearm cleared leather. Kael said, hold. Church layer stress 9%. 1% margin. Damien gasped, air forced wrong. Blood taste at the back of Kael's throat. The extraction was not done. The crisis was beginning. Kael could not complete and could not abort. Outside the door, Seraphine heard the chair scream. Her hand left the rapier hilt. Inside, Kael's boundary slipped. The door opened. Outside, Seraphine heard the chair scream and was already moving, rapier undrawn, hands rising, light gathering before she crossed the threshold. Inside, the crisis compressed time. Church layer stress 10%. 1% past abort line. Kael's space field slipping degree by degree. Blood on his lip where nosebleed had not stopped. Damien's back arched off the chair, eyes white at rims, scream cut to gasp cut to scream again. Thess shouted numbers Bright could not act on yet, cascade signature, neural pull increasing, monitors spiking red. Bright said, 2 seconds. Kael said, don't. The order layer hung half-free 68% in echo storage, 32% rooted in filament and nerve and years of body growing around wrong architecture. Complete and risk tearing healthy tissue. Abort and leave destabilized partial anchor that would cascade to berserk within minutes. Lift hands and collapse the integrity field and lose everything the 37 minutes had bought. He could not complete alone. He could not abort. He could not leave. The door opened. Seraphine came through. She did not hesitate. She placed her palms over his blood on his knuckles, light meeting the integrity field where space precision failed. The field changed. Not saved. Not lost. Between those two sentences lived the next breath. And the breath had not yet been taken when minute 38 became minute 39, and the crisis was still choosing its shape, and Damien convulsed a third time, and the room held by filament and blood and void, and the margin between completion and catastrophe measured in degrees neither of them could yet name. The extraction was not done. The crisis was at its peak. The door had opened. 2 pairs of hands were on Damien's chest. Whether that would be enough had not been decided. Minute 38 arrived. Filament tug became pull. Damien's back arched. The chair screamed against stone. Thess killed the audible alarm. Bright's sidearm cleared leather. Church layer stress 10%. 1% past abort line. Blood taste at the back of Kael's throat. Kael said, hold. He could not complete alone. He could not abort. Damien convulsed, partial cascade beginning, keys shattering while amplification breathed, afternoon conviction pushing against morning body in a war the surgery had started. Thess shouted cascade signature. Bright counted fallback seconds. Kael's space field slipped degree by degree. The door opened. Seraphine came through. She placed her palms over his. The field changed. Not saved. Not lost. Damien screamed one sound, no words, and the crisis was at its peak and completion was not yet, and 2 pairs of hands held a boundary that was failing and might still be saved, and the next breath would decide everything when the breath came. Kael held. Seraphine held with him. The extraction hung half-complete. The crisis was here. The room held by a margin measured in filament and blood and light against void. Not saved yet. Not lost yet. Whether 2 pairs of hands would be enough had not been decided. At the 38-minute mark, Damien's body reacted to the extraction. Kael had anticipated filament tug. He had not anticipated the tug becoming pull. The order layer's remaining 40% was entangled with nervous system tissue, fine roots grown from the parasite into connective architecture between core and body, mapping session accurate, mitigation incomplete. The extraction drew magical structure and filament anchors together. Neural tissue came with the draw. Damien convulsed. The chair arms rattled against stone. Aura monitors spiked, thus killed the audible alarm because the sound was not helping anyone think. Damien's back arched once. His eyes opened, wide at the rims, terror without steering vocabulary to translate it into certainty. Thus shouted, Cascade signature. Bright's sidearm cleared leather half an inch. Kael said, hold. Bright said, abort line exceeded. Kael said, I know. Church layer stress 10% on Thess's readout, 1% past the line he had promised himself. Complete the extraction and risk tearing tissue that should not tear. Abort and leave a destabilized partial anchor that would cascade into berserk within minutes. Lift his hands and collapse the integrity field. He could not complete. He could not abort. He could not leave. Blood ran from his nose onto Damien's sternum, thin, hot, the invoice for 38 minutes of void echo at a depth he had never held. Damien convulsed again. Partial cascade began, not full berserk, not yet, keys shattering while amplification still breathed, afternoon conviction pushing against morning body in a war the surgery had started. Thess said, neural pull increasing, monitors can't. Kael's space field slipped. The boundary he was losing was the line between order parasite and church trellis, but the filaments pulled healthy connections with the parasite, and healthy was what Damien would need to survive if the cut finished. Bright said, 2 seconds to fall back. Kael said, give me. His voice broke on the last word, because giving him time was not a thing the room could do anymore. Damien screamed one sound, no words, and the chair screamed with him. Outside the door, Seraphine heard the chair. Her hand left the rapier hilt. Inside, Kael felt the boundary fail another degree. The order layer hung half-free, half-rooted, a splinter breaking wrong. The crisis was here. The worst 2 minutes had begun. The door opened behind Bright. Seraphine came through. She did not hesitate. She crossed the room with her hands already rising, light affinity gathering, not to fight, to anchor. Kael saw her in peripheral vision and did not tell her to stop because stopping was death and continuing alone was death, and the only third option was a pair of hands he had not planned for and had always known might come. She placed her palms over his. Blood on his knuckles. Warmth through compatibility, light meeting the integrity field where his space precision failed, not amplification, not steering, anchoring. The field changed. Not saved. Not lost. Between those 2 sentences lived the next breath. Kael held. Seraphine held with him. Damien convulsed a 3rd time, the body rejecting the cut, the parasite refusing to leave without taking something with it. His back arched off the chair. Aura monitors spiked red. Thess's mouth moved, numbers Seraphine could not hear over the chair's scream. Bright said, 1 second. Kael said, don't. The room narrowed to hands and field and filament pull and the count he could not lose without losing Damien. Minute 39 had not begun yet in the way that mattered. The crisis was still choosing its shape. Seraphine's light found the church trellis, growth language, anchor language, compatible with foundation architecture in ways dark erasure was not. Healthy connections instead of parasite roots. Vine recognizing support. Kael's dark waited at the seam. The filament screamed through Damien's nervous system. The extraction hung half-complete, order layer 40% still rooted, 40% in echo storage, boundary slipping degree by degree, blood on both their hands where his nose had not stopped. Outside, Calder's honor guard heard the chair scream and did not move. Seraphine's order, perimeter discipline, the specific torture of soldiers who knew something was wrong and had been told to hold. Inside, Bright counted fallback seconds she had not wanted to count. Thus read monitors with the face of someone who had seen surgery go wrong in rooms with less magic and more blood. Kael counted erasure depth and could not find the number that would cut without tearing. Seraphine counted healthy tissue and could not yet name what she was holding. Damien counted nothing, body arching, mine somewhere between morning voice and afternoon weapon, terror the only thing both halves agreed on. 2 pairs of hands. 1 boundary failing. 1 hero screaming. The crisis was at its peak. The next breath would decide everything, but the breath had not yet been taken. Kael held. Seraphine held with him. The room held by a margin measured in filament and blood and light against void. Not saved yet. Not lost yet. The crisis chose its shape and the shape was pull. The answer was 2 pairs of hands, and whether 2 would be enough had not been decided. Kael's count broke on the seam. Seraphine's light steadied the trellis 1 degree. Damien screamed once more and the scream cut off into gasp. The crisis was here. Completion was not. The door had opened. The intervention had begun. Whether it would finish was still choosing. The room had become geometry collapsing for people, 1 chair, 1 unconscious hero not yet unconscious, 2 operators with blood on their hands and incompatible magics, braided by necessity. Bright's fallback seconds counted down in air thus, could not clear with clinical language. Kael felt Seraphine's light enter the integrity field like support timber placed under a wall about to fall, not his architecture, compatible architecture, church trellis recognizing growth language from a source that was not church and did not need to be. The filament pull did not stop. It changed direction slightly 1 degree, healthy tissue identified instead of parasite root, anchor instead of steering. 1 degree was not completion. 1 degree was the difference between cascade and continuation. Damien's scream broke into gasp. His back arched a 4th time, smaller arc, terror without vocabulary, body rejecting the cut, parasite refusing to leave without taking something with it. Kael's erasure depth searched for a number that would cut without tearing and could not find it in the count he had rehearsed for 14 days of constructs. Seraphine's light held healthy connections and did not speak because speaking would break his count and breaking his count would break Damien. Thus read monitors with a face that had seen surgery go wrong in rooms with less magic and more blood. Outside, Calder's honor guard held perimeter and heard screams and did not move. Inside, minute 39 approached without beginning in the way that mattered, time distorted by crisis. 40 minutes on the schedule becoming 40 minutes that might not arrive. The order layer hung 40% in echo storage, 60% rooted. The boundary slipped another degree. Blood ran from Kael's nose onto Damien's sternum, thin, hot. In voice for 38 minutes at depth he had never held and 2 pairs of hands that had not been in the plan and might not be enough. Seraphine's palms over his. Light against void. Anchor against erasure. Healthy against parasite. The crisis was at its peak. Completion was not. The next breath would decide everything. The breath had not yet been taken. Kael held. Seraphine held with him. Damien screamed once more, the sound tearing through morning voice and afternoon weapon alike. Terror the only thing both halves agreed on, and the scream hung in the room like a question neither magic could answer yet. Not saved yet. Not lost yet. The shape of the crisis was pull. The answer was 2 pairs of hands. Whether 2 would be enough remained undecided, completion not yet begun, crisis not yet ended. The room held between breath and breath, filament and blood, void and light. Bright's sidearm stayed half-cleared. Thes's monitors stayed red. Damien's scream faded to gasp and rose again. The peak had not passed. The intervention had not finished. Kael held. Seraphine held with him. Seraphine intervened because listening was not waiting when the sound became convulsion. She had stood outside the east birth room for 38 minutes with her hand on the rapier hilt and her ear tuned to the operation's rhythm, Kael's breathing, Damien's counted breath, Thes's clinical quiet, Bright's stillness. The rhythm was rope bridge, creak, hold, creak, hold. At minute 38 the bridge screamed. She came through the door at the convulsion's second peak. Bright's head turned half protest, half relief. Kael's hands blood slick on Damien's chest, space field flickering, nose bleeding, boundary slipping. Seraphine did not ask. Light magic was House Voss inheritance, growth language, anchor language, compatible with church foundation architecture in ways dark erasure was not. Kael cut with space and dark braided through void echo. Seraphine stabilized with light. She placed her hands over his blood on his knuckles, warmth through compatibility, and added her magic to the integrity field where his precision failed. Not amplification. Not steering. Anchoring healthy tissue while the parasite's last filaments came free. The church trellis recognized light the way vine recognized support. She did not speak. Speaking would have broken Kael's count. Minute 39. Erasure depth reduced 6 shallower, slower, more precise. Blood on both their hands where his nose had not stopped. Kael had mapped filaments. He had not mapped their loyalty. They clung to the parasite because roots did not know politics, only pressure, habit, years of body growing around wrong architecture. Seraphine's light found healthy connections instead. He cut. She anchored. The filament pull eased 1 degree. Not gone. Easing. Minute 39 and a half. Order layer 55% in echo storage. 60. 65. Each percent cost shallower erasure and more light and blood. Kael could not spare, but paid anyway. Damien's convulsions softened from arch to tremor. Not calm, not safe, the body still rejecting, but rejecting slower. Thus said, cascade signature declining, not clear. Bright's sidearm held half cleared. She did not holster. She did not fire. Kael said, hold. Seraphine did not answer. Her count was tissue, not minutes. Minute 40. The order layer's last key structure entered echo storage. Withdrawal began, not gentle, not clean, but directional. The splinter coming free. Dark erasure along the seam. Seraphine's light held open. Space field narrowing to the line that mattered. The filament that had screamed through Damien's nervous system released, not gently, not cleanly, but released. Damien screamed once. The scream cut off. Cascade stopped mid-breath. Damien collapsed unconscious in the chair, breathing, aura spiking downward from saint-equivalent pressure towards something smaller and more honest. Kael and Seraphine pulled back simultaneously. Both physically exhausted, sustained magical operation at precision neither had performed before. Kael's nose bled freely. Seraphine's hands trembled once, then stilled. Bright lowered her sidearm. Thus said, pulse stable. Order layer, absent. Core reorganizing. Silence. Kael said, done. Seraphine said, yes. Damien did not hear them. The order's anchor was gone. Bright left to file investigative completion. Doctrinal cover spent. Church tightening team to receive status change. Armed fallback no longer required. Thus stayed with Damien's unconscious body. Kael sat on the floor because standing was not available. Seraphine sat 1 meter beside him. She said, you didn't tell me 10%. He said, no. She said, was this the 10? He said, 20. With complications. She said, I'll take 20. He said, so will I. Thus documented, order layer absent, core reorganizing, subject unconscious, vitals stable. Church layer stress had peaked at 11% during crisis, 1% past abort line, 3% past clean success tolerance. Damage within partial success band. Tremor risk flagged. Consciousness timeline unknown. Bright filed investigative completion from the corridor, Silverlight authority exercised, subject no longer in pre-reinforcement configuration. Church tightening team turned at Valdris staging when status change transmitted. Gareth's message at dusk. Heard extraction completed. Heard you bled. Heard she entered. Send word when he wakes. Kael read it once. Did not answer yet. There was nothing true to send except not yet. December 9th afternoon. Medical boat to Frontier Relay. Damien unconscious on a cot. Bright's custody amended to post-procedure recovery. Church tightening team stalled again at Valdris when Silverlight filed subject modification under investigative closure. Seraphine began political containment before they reached shore, Crest briefing threads, commission documentation requests, Selene notes of cautious approval. She answered none of them with operational detail sufficient to expose Void Echo. Kael's hands shook for 6 hours after. He mapped the new signature at minimum Void Echo resolution every 4 hours, 3 meters, no contact, order void present as absence. The church foundation remained trellis without parasite, amplification architecture rebuilding around keys that no longer existed. Damien did not wake on December 9th. The body reorganized around the structure that remained, church blessing minus order override, natural gold beneath rebuilt architecture. Breathing steady. Pulse stable. Eyes closed. Afternoon cycle untestable until he woke. December 9th night. Recovery birth at Frontier Relay, lamp low, thus on watch. Seraphine stood at the doorway while Kael slept 1 hour in a chair. She watched Damien's chest rise and fall the way Kael watched perimeters. She did not examine why. Kael woke at gray light and checked Damien's pulse before his own nose. Still bleeding lightly. Still alive. Both of them. December 10th, political containment threads multiplied, Crest briefing against unauthorized hero modification, commission request for procedure documentation, Selene note of cautious approval for Silverlight investigative closure. Seraphine answered with procedural language that disclosed outcomes without mechanisms. Kael mapped Damien's reorganizing core every 4 hours, absence where order had been, light foundation stress settling from 11% toward 8. December 10th afternoon, Damien's fingers twitched once, reflex, not convulsion. Thus said, neural integration settling. Seraphine said, he'll wake. Kael said, I know. She said, when he wakes, the world will have opinions. He said, I know. He slept 1 hour when she said no. Damien did not wake on December 10th. December 10th dusk, Gareth's second message. Send word when he wakes. Kael answered, not yet. Gareth replied, then send word when you sleep. Kael did not reply to that. The intervention was complete. Extraction success was real but not yet spoken in the hero's voice. Recovery would come when he opened his eyes, gratitude, tremor, political fallout, who Damien Cross was without the suit. Tonight was blood wiped from knuckles, compromise edge crossed, two people who had held a door open together without naming the trust arc aloud. Outside, 158 days southern quiet. Inside, a weapon unmade and a person still asleep inside the smaller power. Seraphine stayed at the recovery birth door until the lamp burned low. Kael checked Damien's pulse once more at midnight. Steady. Unconscious. Alive. The order's anchor was gone. That was the success they could measure without a hero's eyes open. When he woke would be another problem. Tonight the problem was breathing. The intervention held. December 10th morning, Damien's aura signature continued reorganizing, order void present as absence, church foundation stress settling, natural gold emerging beneath rebuilt architecture, like vine finding trellis after parasite removal. Kael mapped at 3 meters every 4 hours. Contact was not yet allowed. Thus said the body needed stillness. Seraphine fielded Crest's second briefing request with the same procedural language as the first, outcome disclosed, mechanism protected. Commission documentation request routed through Bright's investigative closure. Selene approval noted and filed without operational detail. Halvar sent a northern line, Perrin holding discipline. Contingent asking questions. Need hero status when available. Kael did not answer. Hero status was unconscious on a cot, and that was not a line Halvar's deputy could carry to soldiers who had watched purification operations abort and resume on the same afternoon. Gareth's third message December 10th midday. How long unconscious? Thus answered through Kael's relay, unknown. Neural integration settling. Vitals stable. Gareth replied, then keep him alive. The rest can wait. Kael read it sitting in the chair Seraphine had placed beside the recovery berth. His nose had stopped bleeding. His hands still shook when he reached for water. Damien's chest rose and fell. Eyes closed. Not waking. That belonged to a morning that had not yet arrived. Gratitude, tremor, political fallout, who Damien Cross was without the suit. Seraphine stood at the doorway at dusk again. Kael said, he'll wake. She said, I know. She said, when he wakes, we tell him what we took. He said, We tell him what we returned. She did not argue the framing. Damien's fingers twitched once more, reflex, neural integration settling, not consciousness. Thus made a note. December 10th night, lamp low, breathing steady, afternoon cycle untestable. The order's anchor was gone. The person inside the smaller power was still asleep. The intervention was complete. Recovery was not. That was enough for tonight.